Sal Mineo, the young and brilliant star who shook an entire generation with Rebel Without a Cause, left behind a secret list before he died. It wasn't a wish list, nor one of regrets. It was a list of names of famous and powerful Hollywood men who had hidden affairs with him in the shadows of the industry. One of them, once considered the very symbol of American masculinity, cost Sal much more than a broken heart. It cost him his career, his sanity, and perhaps even his life. Were those revelations what silenced him forever? Why did Sal choose the final moments of his life to threaten to expose the truth? And what secret was so dangerous that it forced all of Hollywood to erase his tracks in a single bloody night? All will be laid bare in today's video. The rise and fall of the Switchblade Kid. With his youthful appearance, his sharp intelligence, and an unmistakable charm that set him apart from other actors of the time, Sal Mineo quickly became a sought-after name. He continued to showcase his talent with films like Giant and Exodus, becoming the first Italian-American actor to be nominated for an Oscar twice before the age of 23, a record that, to this day, remains unbroken. But that stardom didn't last. As one of the first openly bisexual artists to challenge the unwritten rules of a homophobic Hollywood, Sal was quickly erased from leading roles. The studios considered him too soft, too ambiguous for the image of a heterosexual man who sold tickets. He was cast aside by the same industry that had once acclaimed him as the most promising young actor in America. Still, despite the professional rejection, Sal did not stop loving. And that first love, the one for which he was willing to sacrifice everything, was as legendary as it was dangerous. His name was James Dean. James Dean. A tragic love and a suspicious death. James Dean, the icon of rebellion, sensuality, and defiance, not only shook up the big screen, he made all of Hollywood choke on a kind of raw, honest light in a world built entirely on illusions. But that light didn't just come from his acting. It was born from a secret that James never dared to speak aloud, a secret named Sal Mineo. Sal entered James's life as if by fate, just as Rebel Without a Cause began filming. Although everyone saw them as two co-stars with perfect chemistry, the truth was that behind the curtains, in the shadows of the dressing rooms and in the dimly lit hotel suites, they already belonged to each other. It wasn't the kind of belonging you read about in fan magazines. It was something deeper, more visceral. There were nights of passion at the Beverly Hills Hotel where James once whispered in Sal's ear with a feverish urgency, "If I die, burn all the private reels we filmed. No one can ever see them." Why would a young rebel at the height of his career, who seemed to fear nothing, say such a thing? Because James Dean knew very well that Hollywood, the very machine that had created him, could kill anyone with a single headline. It could destroy a career, a life, for the simple crime of loving the wrong person. And then he himself became a victim of that terrifying prophecy. One day, James received a death threat. It wasn't a call, nor a verbal warning. It was an anonymous note, slipped under his dressing room door, written in what appeared to be pig's blood. "Choose your career or your little boyfriend?" James panicked. Fear, for the first time, overcame rebellion. He cut off all contact with Sal for 3 weeks, leaving the young actor in a state of desperation. But Sal wouldn't let him go. Desperate, he showed up on the set of Giant, where James was filming. He stood under the scorching Texas sun for hours just to be able to say a few words to him. "If you run away from me, I'll die." It was teenage melodrama, but born from a genuine and terrified love. 3 weeks later, James Dean really died. The official version, a tragic car accident. But the whispers in the hallways of Hollywood told a different story. An anonymous mechanic who worked on James's Porsche once told Confidential magazine that the car's brakes had been tampered with just before the trip. He was silenced with $12,000 and a direct threat. "If you open your mouth again, your daughter won't go to school." No one ever mentioned it after that, and Sal, the only person who knew the car, had been taken to a secret garage 2 days before, never dared to speak. Fear and guilt consumed him. He was so tormented that, according to friends, every night he would stuff cloths into the cracks of the doors of his house, terrified of the idea of hidden cameras. Some said he hired an exorcist to cleanse his apartment of James's presence. Others claimed that he once called NBC at midnight, crying and screaming, "I have James Dean's sex tape, but I can't keep it anymore." The station, frightened, hung up. 2 weeks later, a section of the NBC offices mysteriously burned down. All the call logs from that night disappeared. And that was just the beginning of the story, because the next man who entered Sal's life, Bobby Sherman, also had a secret. A secret that, upon being discovered, would unleash a media storm that would destroy what was left of Sal Mineo's career. And that was just the beginning of the story, because the next man who entered Sal's life, Bobby Sherman, also had a secret. A secret that, if you're brave enough, I'll tell you right after this. Bobby Sherman, an exposed romance and a devastating scandal. In 1963, Sal Mineo, once the brilliant star of Rebel Without a Cause, was slowly fading from the spotlight. The name that once made teenagers swoon now paled in comparison to the new wave of heartthrobs. Desperate to hold on to what fame he had left, Sal played a risky game. He began to publicly date Jill Howarth, the daughter of a powerful film producer, a man with enough power to change Hollywood narratives with a single phone call. Sal met Jill at a party. Blonde, with red lips and eyes that danced as if she knew exactly what every man in the room wanted, she walked straight up to him and whispered, "You're the sexiest anti-hero ever put on screen." To Sal, Jill was a lifeline. Beautiful, famous, untouchable. The perfect mask to hide the truth that burned within him. The desperate need to love a man. Then came Bobby Sherman, 4 years younger than Sal, surprisingly innocent, but with a gaze that could make anyone forget where they were. They met by chance during a recording session at NBC. Curious about his strange feelings, Bobby took Sal aside and asked him, "If I don't feel anything when I kiss a girl, is that wrong?" Sal laughed, stared at him for a long time, and whispered, "It's not wrong. You just haven't kissed the right person yet." From that day on, they began to see each other in secret in a penthouse that Sal rented under a false name. Bobby kept calling his girlfriend. Sal kept attending parties with Jill. But when night fell, they found each other in silence, as if the outside world had never existed. Secrets, however, never stay buried in Hollywood. One night, A gardener saw Sal leaving a hotel and recognized a ring on his finger that Bobby had worn on television. At almost the same time, a hotel employee found a receipt with the initials SM and BS. Confidential magazine received the tip. A paparazzo tracked Sal for 3 days before capturing the explosive photo. Sal kissing Bobby's neck next to a parked car. But the real explosion didn't come from the photo. It came from Jill Howarth. One afternoon, while looking for aspirin in Sal's bedroom, Jill found a music box. But inside there were no jewels, only a cassette tape. It was a breathless audio of Sal and Bobby. No words, just moans, but enough for Jill to smash the recorder on the floor and scream as if she had been betrayed by both man and God. She didn't slap him. Instead, she discreetly sent a 4-page letter to the Los Angeles Times, attaching a copy of the tape titled, "I am Sal Mineo's fiancé, and I heard him love a man." The story hit the newsstands on a Monday morning like a nuclear bomb. Within days, Sal's career was annihilated. 2 movies, a Broadway musical, a talk show. Everything disappeared in 72 hours. Bobby Sherman didn't escape either. His manager forced him to sign a document denying any connection with Sal. Bobby agreed on one condition. All recordings and photos had to be destroyed. And then Sal disappeared from the press. A month later, he was seen alone in a bar with a vacant stare, scribbling the name Bobby over and over on napkins. When the bartender asked if he still loved him, Sal replied softly, "Love. I still dream of him." Bobby moved on. Hollywood forgave him. Bobby's career recovered. Sal was left with a detonated heart and a growing rumor, darker than any tabloid, that he had another lover, more powerful than Bobby Sherman, more dangerous even than James Dean. His name was Paul Newman. And if that secret ever came to light, it wouldn't just be one career that would crumble. It would be an entire empire. Paul Newman, a secret relationship that could never be revealed. Are you ready? Because what comes next isn't love, it's war. The rumors began to circulate in 1960 during the filming of Exodus. The paparazzi noticed that Paul Newman, the reigning male icon of the United States, a model husband and father, regularly visited a modest apartment in Benedict Canyon. The reason, even more suspicious, was that Sal Mineo would arrive minutes before. No one suspected a real connection until the National Enquirer leaked a bombshell. Paul Newman secretly meets with an actor who once co-starred with James Dean. There were no photos, but close sources whispered that a journalist had seen Newman and Sal leave together in a silver Pontiac to a secluded parking lot. Immediately after, the Hollywood Reporter got an exclusive interview with Sal. The editor confirmed that Sal had admitted, "Paul was the one I wanted the most. I had never seen anyone look at me like he did." But the article was never published. 3 hours after submitting the story, Warner Brothers issued a cease and desist order, threatening to cancel all advertising contracts if it was printed. 2 hours later, the article disappeared from the system. Sal's phone lines were cut that same day. Sal, confused, called Newman. There was no answer. He sent a letter, no reply, only a folded note from an anonymous assistant. "Don't mention me or us. Signed, PN." The most disturbing thing wasn't a photo, it was a tape. According to a source from Paramount, Sal recorded a final conversation with Newman, in which he begged him to make their relationship public. Newman replied, "I love you, but not enough to lose everything for you." The tape was hidden in a film can behind a painting in Sal's apartment. After Sal's death, The apartment was ransacked by unknowns. Everything was left intact, except for that can, which vanished forever. Newman never uttered Sal's name again, but Mineo's friends never forgot him. They said that Sal was never as shattered as he was by Paul, because Paul was the only man who made him believe in true love, and then treated him like a mistake that had to be buried. Marlon Brando, A Brief and Stormy Romance. However, the next person in Sal's story didn't stay quiet. The rumors began in 1962. Sal was seen several times near Brando's filming locations and leaving the same hotel. Brando, known for his mystery and magnetism, had long been rumored to play for both teams. According to Confidential magazine, it was Brando himself who gave Sal the green light after a party. What followed was a series of covert meetings, alcohol, sex, and then total silence. Sal loved deeply. Brando did not. Their connection was a storm, intense, erratic, and ephemeral. One day, Brando called Sal a talent who had never been truly loved. Days later, he disappeared. No calls, no letters. Sal called dozens of times with no answer. The next morning, an assistant returned a sweater that Sal had left, along with a cold note. I don't nurture feelings for anyone. No breakup, no scandal, just silence. And one more scar was burned into Sal's already fragile heart. But months later, Movieland Confidential published a chilling, hidden article. Brando once slept with a young actor known for playing gay roles. Only one of them fell in love. Guess who? No names were published. There were no denials. But in Hollywood, silence is often more eloquent than confessions. And it was after Brando that the rumors became darker, the name stranger. The daring romances and open challenges were over. Only whispers of secret pairings in the shadows. Connections that no one confirmed. And no one dared to deny. Tony Perkins and Brandon deWilde. The mystery of the discreet trio. A former assistant to Paul Newman once left a chilling note in a leaked posthumous diary. Paul didn't just cut Sal off, he tried to redirect him. Tony and Brandon were his suggestions, a discreet pairing among those who were similar but were never allowed to admit it. Movieland Confidential, in its March 1965 issue, hinted that 3 male stars, one known for Psycho, another for Rebel Without a Cause, and another for Shane, were seen leaving the same penthouse 10 minutes apart. The issue was pulled from newsstands in less than 6 hours for an alleged printing error. But in tabloid circles, it was common knowledge. A 3-way meeting took place, and Sal was the center of attention. A manager at the Beverly Hilton once recorded an internal report. Room 508, ordered 3 meals, but the door plate only said Sal Mineo. That same night, Perkins was filming just 10 minutes away. deWilde was listed at a charity gala, conveniently on a garden wall behind the hotel. It had long been rumored that Tony Perkins, famous for his discretion, had been involved with other men. deWilde was even more puzzling. After a series of successful roles, he disappeared from Hollywood without any explanation. In a leaked casting memo from 1968, a handwritten note next to deWilde's name read, "Avoid pairing him with Sal. It raises too many questions." Sal once told his last close friend during a drunken night, I thought the worst thing was Paul stabbing me in the back. But no, he didn't stab me. He led me into the woods and left me among wolves without a word. No one ever confirmed what really happened between Sal, Perkins, and Brandon. But in a town that exaggerates everything, their long, synchronized silence made the rumors seem even more real. And what raised even more suspicion was their behavior after Sal's death. Both refused to talk about him. At a gala in Palm Springs, when a journalist asked Perkins, "Did you know Sal Mineo?" He got up and left without a word. deWilde responded through his representative. No involvement, no comment. What was really going on between those three? A secret love triangle, an unreleased tape, or just a pattern of evasion among men who were never allowed to show who they really were? We may never know. But Sal once scribbled a line in his 1966 diary. "They didn't kill me. They just didn't save me." Courtney Burr, The Last Lover and the Silenced Truth. And after all the secrecy, the anguish, and the abandonment, one man stood firm. One man supported Sal openly and never ran, not even after he was dead. His name was Courtney Burr, the last name on the list, and the last man who stayed to witness Sal Mineo descend into the depths of despair. Courtney wasn't famous, he wasn't handsome, like James, dazzling like Newman, or dangerous like Brando. He was an acting coach, quiet and invisible. But he knew all the men who had passed through Sal's life. And Sal knew that Courtney wasn't there to use him. He came to stay. They lived together for 6 years in silence, avoiding the cameras, avoiding the gazes of the neighbors. Whenever Sal panicked about the tabloids, Courtney would lock himself in the room with him, turn off all the lights, put on music, and hold Sal's hand until he fell asleep. The press called him his roommate. But the neighbors heard sobs after midnight, whispers of names spoken like a hidden husband calling his partner. Then came the night of February 12th, 1976. Sal was stabbed right outside his door. Blood soaked the pavement. The keys were still in the lock. The first person to open the door was Courtney. According to police reports, Courtney sat next to Sal's body for more than 7 minutes before calling 911. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He said one thing to the operator in a strangely calm voice. "The man I love has been murdered." But that wasn't the headline the media wanted. Within 24 hours, all the major newspapers were screaming, "Who was the last man to see Sal Mineo alive?" The Hollywood Inquirer headlined, "Co-star, lover, or killer," and even published an exclusive about Sal's death, a dangerous 6-year romance finally unmasked. They didn't let Courtney mourn. Journalists snuck into the apartment and photographed the furniture, describing an unopened bottle of red wine and 2 half-full glasses. Clear signs that someone had dinner with Sal that night. It transformed Courtney from a grieving partner to a suspect, to an unreliable survivor. No one asked how Courtney felt. No one mentioned how he carefully administered Sal's antidepressants every night. No one acknowledged that it was Courtney who hid Sal's last voice recording, where Sal named the men who slept with me and then erased all trace. After the funeral, Courtney went to the cemetery alone. No family, no colleagues from the film industry, just him and a bouquet of white flowers on a grave still labeled controversial. Courtney never gave interviews, never wrote his memoirs, never sought recognition for his love. But in a single letter to an old friend of Sal's, he wrote only one line. "They think I survived, But I died the same night he did. They just haven't buried me yet. Courtney Burr, Sal's last lover. The only one who stayed until the very last second. And the man who was treated not as a mourner, but as an accusation. Sal Mineo was killed by a stranger, a common criminal, according to the official verdict. But the real death was when even his last love was dismissed as just another scandal, when his entire life of struggles and silences was reduced to a morbid headline. Hollywood doesn't kill with guns. It kills by silencing you, by making the world doubt the victim instead of the culprit. Sal Mineo may have loved the wrong people, or the right people at the wrong time. But one thing is for sure. He died carrying too many secrets, and to this day, no one has dared to reveal everything he knew or everything he kept. And you? Do you think Sal's death was just a coincidence? Do you believe the story of a random robbery in the night? Or was it a quiet cleanup by an entire industry? Leave your opinion in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because more truths are buried under the dust of Hollywood. And the next names on the list might chill you to the bone.